Yo, what's going on? Hope y'all are doing good. I just got home a few hours ago. I had some dinner and I finally sat down at my computer. I've been busy all day, so haven't been home, but I have been trading. I've been following along with price action on my phone. So, this is just going to be a quick Bitcoin update going over what has happened here in my trade because despite this not being the most significant price action, just considering market structure right now, in terms of primary structure, nothing in this range really matters. So it's not super significant, but it is significant to what we're currently trading since we've been trading in this range now since the middle of August. So, like 45 days now, this range has been the significant price action, or at least the tradable price action. So, yesterday, at around Asia Open, so right around 8 o'clock Eastern Time, so about 24 hours ago, we got a move up to take out the range high, the high of this range that we've been trading since we put in this low over here. And again, this is not significant price action in terms of primary structure because we know that primary structure right now, I mean on the weekly it looks like this basically, where we just got an SFP, the low on the weekly, and daily market structure from a high didn't really give us much on this move to the downside. We got this lower high up here, and after that it was basically a straight shot down. So, even though we got a significant move to the upside here, it didn't break significant structure of any kind really, but it did take out the local range high. We put in this high towards the end of August, so about a month ago. And right away when this happened, I didn't take any sort of trade. I wasn't super confident in shorting just the SFP that high since it didn't have anything to do with market structure. And there wasn't really a good opportunity to get a short off of this because it was basically a straight shot up. So there was no market structure to break. You couldn't really get an extra confirmation for this SFP. You just kind of had to, short invalidation above the high and hoped that it worked. So that was the reason I didn't take this, SFP right off the bat, and I'm glad I didn't because it did not end up working out. We came up higher eventually, and right away, one of the trade setups I was looking for as soon as we put in this high was to take out the high again, and hopefully form some sort of distribution up in this area, get some kind of sign that we're going to get a significant move to the downside after taking out that high because if we didn't form some kind of distribution or if we didn't break market structure of any kind, I wasn't confident enough to just take an SFP trade just because we took out this high over here. So I wanted to wait for something to happen, either for us to take out the high again and then break market structure. That would give a reason to look for shorts, and maybe from there we get a refined entry. Maybe we form some sort of distribution here, either a model 2 where we, come down to break market structure after taking out the high and then we get some kind of third tap, or what we actually did, which is form a Wyckoff model 1 where we get 3 taps on the high. Essentially, we take out the original high and then we take out that second wick again, so we get 3 taps of the high. So those are all ideas of things that I'd like to see before I become interested in shorts. Now, how did I actually enter a short here? Well, this morning we got a move up to take out the high, which now was this wick. We had already taken out the high at 4:30 a.m. this morning, and around New York Open we got a move up to take out this wick. That move actually brought us up into a significant area of supply. So the first area that we rejected from was an area of supply. This wick brought us right up into this smaller zone of supply, which was pretty much just this little retracement. It's kind of hard to see it on the 4-hour, but it was a move to the upside before we got a massive dump. So this was like a smaller area of supply, which just so happened to be overlapping with the larger area of supply, which was this larger retracement. And this larger area was the zone that we tagged this morning. So we got to move up into that zone, and we started seeing a pretty sharp rejection after getting a move into there. Off the bat, my mind was thinking, okay, we're probably getting some kind of a Wyckoff Model 1 here. It's looking like a distribution. We just got an SFP of the high again into supply, or at least, what I thought would be an SFP. The thing is, sometimes when it seems like your ideas are playing out perfectly, you can get a little ahead of yourself, and something that I failed to notice this morning is that we didn't necessarily SFP again. We actually got a close above this wick, at least on the 1 hour. So, it's not an SFP on the 1 hour. Is it on the 2? Well, no, we got a close on the 2 as well. Now, granted, it's not a great close, but by the time I entered, who's to say we could have, just gotten a little retracement here and then continued up. Since we broke structure, maybe we will see some significant follow through to the upside. So that was, in a way, a mistake on my part. I didn't really notice that on most time frames this was not an SFP. Now, we did wick it on the 3 and the 4 hour, but I don't think that is super significant. It is a little bit significant for sure, but I can't really call this market structure on the 3 or 4 hour, so it's not exactly what I would want to see. I would probably at best call this like 1 hour structure, and granted this is the internal structure from the low, so it's not the most important structure, but it is essentially the structure that relates to my idea. So I did eventually realize my mistake. I think I noticed, a little bit after I entered, like I entered on this candle pretty much as soon as we dumped it down. I was like, all right, I'll take this SFP trade, invalidation a little bit above this high. It seems like this could be a significant top here, so I'm willing to just mark it in. I'm not going to wait for market structure to break, even though that would have been the smarter play. But I went with the more aggressive entry, and I did take a slightly smaller risk than I would have. I took a 70-cent risk instead of like a 94-cent risk. That would be my 1% for this account. And once I realized that we had actually broken structure on a lot of time frames, I was considering closing the trade and waiting for market structure to break, just for that extra confirmation. But I decided to just hold it out and wait and see if we eventually got to move down to break market structure. We put in this high here and then got this higher low before this last move to the upside. So originally we wicked this low, and I think I realized somewhere in this area after we wicked the low, that was another reason I was considering closing the trade, is because we did get an SFP on the low after technically breaking market structure on most time frames. So that wasn't what I wanted to see at that moment, but I decided to mark out that wick and see if we eventually got to move down to break that with a close. If we retraced too far to the upside, I probably would have closed it like somewhere up around here. Just taking a small loss and looked for the next trade, but we did eventually get a move down to break structure. And so even though I didn't have the greatest entry in terms of the confirmations I waited for, eventually I did get confirmation, and that did give me confidence to maintain this position. At that point, I'd say the odds were in my favor once we broke market structure. So at that point, I did lock in my trade just in case we kind of got a false break and then continued up, because this wasn't structure on a lot of time frames. Like I said, on the 2 to 4 hour, this wasn't structure at all. So maybe we're just getting a little retrace before blasting off, because technically we did break structure on the 1 hour. So I was still keeping that in mind. So once we broke structure here, I TP'd pretty much on this wick. I had a TP set down at this low, I believe, and we hit that pretty much immediately. From there, I followed market structure, so my invalidation went up above this high, because following market structure now, even though this wasn't a close, this wick, it still counts as market structure because we put in a lower low. So we do have a lower high before we got this lower low, which actually broke structure. And so following structure, my new invalidation was up here, and that locked in a little bit of profits for me. If I got stopped out here, it would have been a small win, like 20 cents maybe, something like that. So I locked in a profit pretty quick with this, and from there I just had some TPs set lower, and I pretty much stopped paying attention to the charts. We started getting a retracement away from this low, so I did set another TP down by this wick just to lock in a little bit more profits, and I had one set down around this high. I actually front ran it a little bit, so I think my next TP was right around this area. A little bit below this low that we just got to move above. Probably wouldn't have been a smart move to put it at that low, but I put it a little bit below there, and we ended up hitting that TP anyway. So that's where we're at right now. I've taken 3 TPs on this trade. Got in 91 cents, so almost 1% locked in with this. And I do plan on following market structure with this. So, right now the last lower high was right here. if we get a move above there with a close, I'll probably just close out my trade. And in fact, if I am still in this trade when I go to bed later, I will move my stop loss down to, a little bit above this market structure point. I'll give myself some room just in case we, come up to SFP it. But yeah, right now this is my invalidation. I'm going to follow market structure of this move to the downside. We did take out the range high, so this could potentially end up being like a swing high, and maybe we get another rotation back down to the range low. That's probably the next thing I'm looking for. So if I can stay in this trade for that, if we just continue a downtrend this whole time, that'd be awesome. I think we have reason to come down lower. We have liquidity here, maybe even a little bit of liquidity here. Looks like some kind of fair value gap here. And ultimately, I still think taking out this low would greatly benefit Bitcoin. At least, if you want Bitcoin to increase in price. I think, if we spend too much time without taking out this low, which honestly at this point, maybe we already have spent too much time without taking out this low, but it just seems like if people really wanted Bitcoin to continue higher, like I'm talking on the weekly time frame, that we would have probably taken out this low already and gotten an opportunity to transition lower time frame market structure after SFPing this weekly market structure point to give Bitcoin an opportunity to break market structure after that, to give confirmation to that weekly SFP, potentially producing a move up to the opposite weekly market structure point and maybe even higher to continue the weekly uptrend. You'd think if that was the plan, we probably would have already taken out the low. And, this move right here would have been the deciding factor. And we'd be, looking to see if we close above this high now, are we going to, break market structure? Are we going to break this downtrend, flip it to an uptrend, and basically confirm this as being a weekly SFP? And, from there, just take off, rocket ship. But that isn't what happened. We've been ranging here. We haven't touched the low on most exchanges. I know some exchanges are slightly different, but, they're pretty insignificant when it comes to price action. A lot of, spot exchanges, like I think Coinbase did take out the low because this wick wasn't as low. But, on Binance, on Bybit, we have not taken out that low. And so we do not have an opportunity to transition market structure here. We're just kind of, in internal range mode right now. And the reason I say all that is, potentially the bullish case is not the plan. Maybe we see the bearish case play out, which is where we lose this range to the downside with a close, with a significant close like a daily and, eventually a weekly break. And from there, we could potentially go much, much lower. Now, we still could make our way down to this low, get an SFP of the low, break the internal downtrend bullish, and eventually get a move up to actually break market structure. And at that point, yeah, the bullish scenario is probably playing out. We're probably going higher, but it just seems like the more time goes on, the less likely that becomes. And so far, a pretty good amount of time has passed. So that's kind of my view. I'm not making any assumptions right now. I'm not saying that we have to break this low if we make our way back down to it, but I'm just kind of planning for the future and coming up with these scenarios ahead of time, because I don't want to be surprised if price comes down and maybe SFP is a low originally, but then just dumps down, breaks this range, breaks the uptrend, and I'm sitting here while this is happening thinking, what's going on? I was not expecting this. I don't want to be that guy. I've been that guy many times. So I'm, thinking about these things ahead of time. And although I'm hopeful that, if Bitcoin comes back to this low, that we, deviate it slightly and then come up to break market structure later and continue on with bullishness, I would like that scenario. But I am not as confident in that idea as I was when we were trading back here. I think if this low right here came down to take out market structure, it would have been a lot better. But it didn't. So now we are in this situation. And if we are going to put in a significant lower high on the daily time frame before coming down to take out the weekly low, this actually would probably be a weekly market structure point as well, since we did take out the low on the weekly. So this has potential to be a very significant lower high up in this area. We are in a significant zone of supply. I'd say this supply produced a very aggressive move down. It took out a weekly market structure point, although with an SFP, but I think this is still a very significant zone, and potentially we're just coming up to mitigate it before getting a further move to the downside. And we do have some more refined areas above. Like I was looking at this zone up here where we have the value area high of this entire range from this high over. So we have the value area high lining up with the golden pocket of this entire move down. And that is lining up in like the mid section of this supply range. So this was the zone I was keeping my eye on. Maybe we eventually work our way up here. Maybe the top isn't in yet. Maybe we just get one SFP, maybe come down a little bit, and then come back up later, potentially producing a Wyckoff Model 1 into that significant zone, and maybe that ends up being the significant lower high. That's something that I'm watching for. And, another thing you could watch for, although I think it's probably the least likely scenario, would be us just coming up to take out this daily market structure point. And, at that point, technically, we have confirmed this as a weekly SFP. And, if we're breaking market structure, then you can probably assume at that point that we're going to continue the weekly uptrend, at least until we get up to this high. And from there, we got a deciding moment. Are we going to SFP it, or are we going to get a close above it? But, that is a potential scenario as well, although I think it's unlikely. We could just get a move up above this high and close above it. And, that would break market structure. So although I think that's an unlikely scenario, I still have to keep that in mind. That is possible. But we do have a 786 aligning with that high as well. And that high is technically supply. So potentially we do work our way up here. Maybe just SFP it. And maybe from there we break structure. And maybe then it's down only for a little bit. We could go a lot lower. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking more longer term ideas here, but I think it's a pretty good idea to, think about these things every once in a while. It takes a long time for these to play out. So, when you get new information, it's nice to start brainstorming ideas. So that kind of got off topic a little bit. I started off talking about my local scalp and, it turned into that. But, there's not really much else to talk about with this. I mean, I will probably just follow market structure, honestly. If we get like a significant move down below a liquidity point, like a low that probably has a lot of stop losses, and then start getting a reaction back to the upside, that's probably something that I would take profits for. But other than that, I'm kind of just waiting until we flip this downtrend bullish, and then I'll just close the trade. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is start brainstorming ideas for longs, because, this is a pretty significant retracement. We've gotten a pretty sharp move to the downside here. And, we did technically break market structure on a lot of time frames. On the 2-hour down, we got a close above this high. Even though it's internal structure, it's, what White Phoenix calls up-only structure, where you're going from the low only. So, there's that to consider, but we have technically broken market structure on some time frames, although not the ones that I would consider most significant. Like, for example, the daily is just a big old wick. But, maybe there is still a chance that we get another run at these highs. So, potentially, we could look at market structure, in a few different ways here and see if there's an opportunity to get into a long. Maybe if we get a move into some significant demand, which we may already have. But, I don't want to make this video too long. I'll probably save this for the next video. But, yeah, I mean, if we start flipping market structure bullish, maybe I'll start considering longs. We'll see. But anyways, that's it for this one. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Really appreciate all of the support. And I'll see you all in the next video.